A millionaire is stuck sharing a room with the woman he cannot stand, until one kiss. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The hotel room is quiet in the way expensive places always are. Thick carpet, floor-to-ceiling windows, a king-sized bed that looks untouched and slightly judgmental. On the small glass table by the window sits a leather briefcase, placed with surgical precision. Nothing in this room is out of control, except the woman standing near the door. Ethan Cole does not raise his voice. He never does. At 37, he has built a reputation as a man who wins without needing to shout. Founder and chief executive officer of a global logistics firm, Ethan is used to boardrooms, private flights, and silence that bends to his will. This room was supposed to be another controlled variable. One night, one bed, no complications. Then, she walks in. Her suitcase rolls loudly across the marble entryway, the sound scraping against his nerves. She does not apologize. She does not even look at him at first. She is busy arguing with the hotel clerk on speakerphone, her tone sharp, controlled, and unapologetic. "I do not care what the reservation says," she snaps. "I was told this room was mine." Ethan exhales slowly through his nose. He checks his watch. 7:32 in the evening. He has a call with investors in San Francisco at 8. He does not have time for this. "You are in the wrong room," he says, calm and clipped. "This suite is booked under my name." She finally turns to face him, and something about her expression instantly irritates him. Not fear, not embarrassment, defiance. "Funny," she replies, folding her arms, "because it's booked under mine, too." Her name is Claire Morgan. He learns this 2 minutes later when the front desk calls back. A system error, a sold-out conference, no other rooms within 50 miles. The booking error came from an executive security override made by the conference organizers, not the hotel itself. The explanation is long. The solution is simple. They will have to share. Ethan closes his eyes for half a second, just long enough to calculate the cost of this inconvenience. He does not like sharing space. He does not like surprises, and he absolutely does not like women who look at him as if he is the problem. "This is unacceptable," he says flatly. Claire lifts an eyebrow. "I agree. But unless you plan on sleeping in the hallway, we are both stuck here." The word "stuck" lands between them like a challenge. Ethan looks at the bed, then at the couch, then back at her. She is already pulling her blazer off, completely unfazed by the fact that she is sharing a room with a man worth more than most small towns. "Let us be clear," he says. "This is temporary. We will maintain boundaries. We will stay out of each other's way." She gives a short, humorless laugh. "Trust me. I am not interested in anything beyond a good night's sleep." Their eyes meet. Something sparks. Not attraction. Not yet. Friction. Neither of them knows it in this moment, but this room, this forced proximity, this single shared space, is about to dismantle every rule they both rely on. And before the night is over, one unexpected kiss will make sure nothing stays fake ever again. The silence after the call with the front desk lingers longer than Ethan expects. Claire drops her phone onto the desk and exhales, the kind of breath people release when they realize a bad situation is not going away. Outside the window, the city glows in muted gold and white, traffic moving like a slow river several stories below. The room feels smaller now, more intimate, unavoidable. Ethan straightens his jacket, more out of habit than necessity. "This changes nothing," he says. "We share the space, nothing else." Claire lets out a short laugh, not amused. "Relax. I have shared worse spaces with worse people." That comment lands wrong. Ethan does not ask what she means by that. He does not ask personal questions. He learned long ago that curiosity complicates things. He gestures toward the couch. "You can take that." She looks at the couch, then at the bed, then back at him. "No," she says. "We will not start this with one of us playing the martyr. We split it. Or we take turns." Ethan blinks. No one ever negotiates with him like this. "I am not sleeping on a couch," he replies evenly. "Good," she says. "Neither am I." They stare at each other. neither willing to back down. Finally, Ethan reaches for his briefcase and sets it on the desk. "Fine," he says. "We take turns. I have an early call. I take the bed tonight." Claire considers this, then nods. "Tomorrow night is mine." The agreement is made. Temporary, transactional, clean. Or so he thinks. Claire opens her suitcase and pulls out a simple change of clothes. No makeup bags spilling luxury products. No designer labels flashing status. Just practical, neatly folded items, Ethan notices despite himself. "You're here for the conference," he says, more statement than question. "Yes," she replies, "consulting." He almost smirks. Consultants flood conferences like this, selling confidence and borrowed expertise. He has dismissed dozens of them in the past year alone. She catches the look on his face. "And you?" she asks. "Let me guess. Finance." "Logistics," he corrects. "Global supply chains." Her expression shifts, just slightly. Interest. Respect. Not admiration. He is not used to that either. "That sounds exhausting," she says. "It is," he answers. For a moment, neither speaks. Claire heads toward the bathroom, then pauses at the door. "We should set ground rules." Ethan nods. "Agreed." "No guests," she says. "No touching. No personal questions." He adds, "Lights off by 11. Silence during calls." She turns, eyebrow raised. "You are really fun, you know that?" "I am not here to be fun," he says. She smiles, sharp but not unkind. "Good. Neither am I." The door closes behind her. Ethan loosens his tie and sits on the edge of the bed, rubbing his temples. This is a mistake. He can already feel it. He does not like disruptions. He does not like women who challenge him. And yet, something about her refusal to bend irritates him in a way that feels dangerously close to intrigue. The bathroom door opens. Steam follows her into the room. Claire keeps her eyes forward, moving with deliberate confidence as she crosses to the window to check her phone. "You snore?" she asks casually. "No," he says. "Good," I bite. He almost laughs. Almost. As the lights dim and the city hum seeps through the glass, Ethan lies awake longer than he wants to admit. He tells himself it is the unfamiliarity of the situation, the presence of another person in his carefully controlled orbit. But when Claire shifts on the couch, when he hears the soft rustle of fabric and the quiet rhythm of her breathing, he realizes the truth is simpler. This arrangement was never going to stay simple, and somewhere in the back of his mind, a line has already been crossed, even if neither of them is ready to name it yet. Morning arrives without ceremony. Ethan is already awake when the alarm vibrates on his phone at 6:30. He does not need it, but routine matters to him. The city outside the window is gray and slow, streets still damp from the night before. For a moment, he forgets where he is. Then he hears movement. The couch creaks softly, fabric shifts, a quiet exhale that does not belong to him. Reality settles back in. He sits up, careful not to make noise, and checks his watch. His investor call starts in 40 minutes. He moves with practiced efficiency, pulling on a crisp white shirt, fastening his cufflinks, keeping his attention fixed on the mirror instead of the reflection of Claire stirring behind him. She sits up, hair slightly messy, eyes sharp despite the early hour. "You are up early," she says. "I always am." Figures. She stands and stretches without hesitation, as if the room belongs to her just as much as it does to him. Ethan looks away, irritation flaring at the fact that he has to. "I have a call," he says. "In 20 minutes. "I will be quiet," she replies. "I have my own meeting later." That surprises him. He does not comment on it. Claire disappears into the bathroom, leaving the faint sound of running water behind her. Ethan sets up his laptop on the desk, adjusts the chair, and slides into the version of himself the world expects. Calm, precise, untouchable. When the call begins, his voice is steady, measured. Numbers, timelines, risks, solutions. He does not notice Claire step out of the bathroom until she pauses near the window, listening despite herself. She does not hear a billionaire. She hears a man carrying the weight of too many expectations. "We cannot afford another delay," Ethan says into the screen. "If this fails, it is not just revenue, it is credibility." Claire watches him from across the room, unseen. The tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw tightens when someone interrupts him. This is not arrogance, this is pressure. When the call ends, Ethan closes his laptop and exhales, slower this time. "You sound like someone who does not sleep much," Claire says. "I sleep enough." That was not an answer. He looks at her, really looks this time. "And you," he says. "Consulting. What does that actually mean?" She hesitates, just a second too long. "I help companies clean up messes," she says. "Mostly ones made by people who do not listen." Something about that resonates. They leave the hotel together but separate in the lobby, walking side by side without touching. To anyone watching, they look like a couple. Inside, both of them know they are playing a role neither agreed to out loud. Ethan notices the glances, the assumptions. He does not correct them. At the conference, the distance between them grows smaller by necessity. Crowded halls, shared elevators, polite smiles. Claire navigates conversations with ease, fielding dismissive comments without flinching. Ethan watches as someone underestimates her, then quietly regrets it 5 minutes later. During lunch, she saves him a seat without asking. "You do not have to," he says. "I know." They eat in near silence. For the first time, the quiet does not feel hostile. That evening, back in the room, the lines blur further. Shoes by the door. 2 phones charging on the same outlet. A shared space slowly losing its edges. "You still taking the couch tonight?" he asks. She nods. "A deal is a deal." He pauses. "We can switch." She looks at him, surprised. "Are you offering?" "I am adjusting," he says. She studies his face, then smiles, just a little. "Tomorrow." As the lights go out, Ethan lies awake again, aware of the steady presence across the room. The rules are still intact, the boundaries still standing, but something has shifted. This no longer feels like an inconvenience. It feels like the beginning of a mistake he is not entirely sure he wants to avoid. The third night changes the rhythm between them. It starts with a problem neither of them planned for. Claire comes back to the room just after 9, heels in hand, her expression tight in a way Ethan recognizes immediately. Controlled frustration, the kind people carry when they refuse to show weakness in public. "You were back early," he says. "My meeting ended badly," she replies, dropping her bag onto the chair. Apparently, honesty is not considered a strength in certain rooms. Ethan does not respond right away. He closes his laptop and turns to face her. "What happened?" She pauses, clearly deciding whether to answer. Then she exhales. "They wanted me to validate a plan I knew would fail," she says. "I did not." "And?" "They did not appreciate that." There is no self-pity in her voice, just fact. Ethan nods slowly. "They will regret it." She studies him. "You sound very sure." "I am." For the first time since they met, she laughs. Not sharp, not defensive, just tired. "Must be nice," she says, heading toward the bathroom. Later that night, tension fills the room again, but it is different now, less hostile, more charged. Claire sits cross-legged on the couch, laptop balanced on her knees. Ethan stands near the window, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and firm as he speaks to someone on the other end. "No," he says. "That is not an option. We agreed on transparency." He hangs up and rubs the back of his neck. "You fight everyone," Claire observes. "Only when necessary." She tilts her head. "You enjoy it." "I enjoy winning." That earns another small smile. The days blur into a strange routine. Morning calls, coffee runs, shared elevators. Conversations that start sharp and end thoughtful. They still argue, but the arguments feel less like attacks and more like testing boundaries. At the conference reception on the 4th night, the illusion becomes unavoidable. A senior executive approaches Ethan, glancing briefly at Claire. "And who is this?" the man asks. Before Ethan can answer, Claire steps forward. "Claire Morgan," she says evenly. "Consultant." The man smiles thinly. "Ah, another one." Ethan feels the dismissal like a personal insult. "Actually," he says, voice calm but unmistakably firm, "she is the reason 2 of your competitors avoided very public failures last year." The man stiffens. "I was not aware." "That is because she does not advertise her work," Ethan replies. "She lets results speak." Claire turns to him, surprised. Gratitude flickers in her eyes before she masks it. When the man walks away, she exhales. "You did not have to do that," she says. "I know." "Why did you?" He does not answer immediately. The truth feels inconvenient. "Because he was wrong," he says instead. The reception grows louder around them. Music, laughter, glasses clinking. To anyone watching, they look like a couple, standing close, aligned, comfortable, too comfortable. Back in the room, the air feels heavier. "You defended me," Claire says quietly. "You did not need defending," Ethan replies. "But I chose to." She nods slowly. "Thank you." The word lingers. They stand there, neither moving toward the bed or the couch. The rules are still in place. They both know that. But the distance between them feels thinner than it did before. "I am taking the bed tonight," Claire says finally. He hesitates. "You said tomorrow." "I know," she replies. "I changed my mind." He considers arguing. He does not. "Fine," he says. "I will take the couch." As the lights go out, Ethan lies awake, staring at the ceiling. The couch is uncomfortable. He does not care. Across the room, Claire shifts under the covers. For the first time, the space between them does not feel like a boundary. It feels like a test, and neither of them is quite ready to admit they are both already failing it. The fifth day brings the first real test. It happens at a private luncheon, hosted by one of the conference sponsors, held in a glass-walled ballroom overlooking the river. Invitations are limited. Power gathers quietly in rooms like this. Ethan is expected to attend. Claire is not. She stands by the door, scanning the name cards with a calm expression that barely hides her irritation. "Looks like this one is your world," she says. "It does not have to be," Ethan replies. She shakes her head. "I am fine. I will find something else to do." He knows that tone. It is not pride. It is self-protection. "You are coming with me," he says. She turns. "Ethan." "I invited you," he says evenly. "They confirmed." "That is not what you said yesterday." "I changed my mind." Something passes between them. Surprise, then resolve. Inside, the room hums with controlled conversation. Linen tablecloths, quiet laughter. People who measure each other in glances. Claire feels it immediately, the subtle weighing, the quick assumptions. She keeps her posture steady. They take their seats. Across the table, a man in a navy suit smiles politely at Claire. "And you are?" he asks, already turning back to Ethan. Before Ethan can speak, Claire answers. "Claire Morgan." The man nods vaguely. "Ah, a guest." "An advisor," she corrects, voice calm, "specializing in operational risk." The man chuckles. Everyone is an advisor these days. Ethan feels something tighten in his chest. "Actually," he says, cutting in smoothly, "she flagged a supply bottleneck last quarter that saved one of our partners over $12 million. The table goes quiet. The man blinks. "I was not aware." "That is because she does not seek attention," Ethan continues. "She solves problems." Claire looks at him, startled. He meets her gaze without hesitation. The conversation shifts. Questions follow, real ones. Claire answers them with clarity and precision, breaking down complex issues into simple truths. No arrogance, no defensiveness, just competence. By the end of the meal, the same man who dismissed her earlier asks for her card. Outside, the river glints in the afternoon sun. "You did that on purpose," Claire says. "Yes. You did not have to." "I know." She exhales slowly. "Thank you." The words land heavier this time. Back in the room later, the atmosphere has changed again. Not tense, not quiet, charged. Claire sets her bag down and turns to him. "You did not treat me like a favor today. I did not think of you as one. That matters." He nods. "It should." They stand there, closer than usual. No one speaks. "I should warn you," she says softly. "People assume things when they see us together." "I am aware." "Does that bother you?" He considers the question carefully. "It should, but it does not." Her eyes search his face. "That is dangerous." "Yes," he agrees. The distance between them shrinks, not because they step closer, but because neither steps away. Then his phone vibrates. The moment breaks. He checks the screen. His expression hardens slightly. "Family," he says. She nods, understanding without asking. Later that night, the lights go out as usual. The room settles. The city hums beyond the glass. Ethan lies on the couch, staring at the ceiling, aware of every sound she makes in the bed. A shift, a breath, a pause. This is no longer about sharing space. It is about sharing ground. And both of them know that the next boundary will not be so easy to keep intact. The sixth night arrives quietly, without an argument or an agenda. The conference is winding down. The schedule is lighter, fewer obligations, less noise to hide behind. Ethan returns to the room just after 10, jacket draped over his arm, tie loosened. Claire is already there, sitting near the window with her knees pulled close, city lights reflecting softly across the glass. She is not working. That alone feels different. "You are back late," she says. "So are you." She nods. "I stayed after the panel. Someone wanted advice. Unpaid." He sets his jacket down. "You should charge for that." She smiles faintly. "Not everything needs a price." That lands deeper than she intends. Silence settles between them, not uncomfortable, but heavy with things neither has said yet. Ethan pours a glass of water and leans against the desk instead of retreating to his usual distance. Claire notices. "You are tense," she says. "So are you." She considers denying it, then stops. "I was supposed to be somewhere else this week." He looks at her. "Where?" She hesitates. The rule about personal questions flickers between them, thin and fragile. "Home," she says finally. "But my mother needed help. Again." The word again carries weight. Ethan nods slowly. "That is why you work so hard." "That is why I cannot afford to fail," she replies. For the first time, he does not deflect. "I understand that," he says. She turns toward him. "Do you?" "Yes," he answers. People assume wealth means freedom. It does not. It just changes the shape of the cage. The honesty surprises them both. Claire studies his face, the control, the restraint, the cracks beginning to show. "You did not grow up with this," she says quietly. "No." "Neither did I." Their eyes hold. The city hum fades into the background. Ethan moves first, crossing the room and sitting in the chair opposite her, close enough now that the distance feels intentional rather than safe. "My family expects perfection," he says, publicly, privately. "There is no room for mistakes." "And you believe that," she says. "I was taught that." She nods. "I was taught that mistakes cost people like me everything." The truth hangs between them. Claire exhales, shoulders lowering. This is dangerous territory. "Yes," he agrees, "but it feels honest." She smiles slightly. "That might be worse." They laugh quietly, the sound unexpected and intimate. A pause follows, longer this time. "You should take the bed tonight," Ethan says suddenly. She blinks. "You have an early flight tomorrow." "I will manage." She studies him, then shakes her head. "We said we would rotate." "I am not negotiating," he replies gently. "I am offering." The softness in his voice catches her off guard. "Ethan," she says, and the way she says his name feels like a shift all on its own. He looks at her, really looks. The air changes. Neither of them steps back. The space between them closes, not all at once, but slowly, as if drawn by something neither can name. Claire can feel the warmth of him now, the steadiness, the restraint. "This is a bad idea," she whispers. "Yes," he says. Neither moves away. Her breath catches when his hand brushes hers. Not intentional, not accidental enough to ignore. They freeze. He looks at her hand, then back at her face. "Tell me to stop." She does not. The moment stretches, fragile and electric. Then, suddenly, reality crashes back in. Her phone vibrates on the table. The spell breaks. Claire pulls her hand away, heart racing. "No," she says softly. "We cannot." Ethan straightens, stepping back immediately. Control snapping back into place. "You are right," he says, voice steady again. The distance returns, sharper now for having disappeared. They prepare for bed in silence, lights off, positions switched without comment. Ethan lies awake on the couch, staring at the ceiling, pulse still loud in his ears. Across the room, Claire turns onto her side, eyes open in the dark. They did not cross the line, but they stood right on it. And both of them know that next time, restraint may not win. The seventh night does not announce itself. It slips in quietly, disguised as routine. The conference has ended. The halls are emptier. The city outside feels less urgent, less performative. Ethan and Claire return to the room later than usual, the tension from the previous night still unresolved, still humming beneath every word they do not say. Neither mentions the moment their hands almost touched. Neither apologizes. That silence is worse. Claire sets her bag down and turns toward the window, arms crossed, posture rigid. Ethan closes the door behind them and leans against it for a second longer than necessary. "This ends tomorrow," he says finally. "We check out in the morning." She nods. "I know." The words land heavier than either expects. "So this," she gestures vaguely between them, "this stays what it is." "Yes," he agrees too quickly. She turns to face him. "Do not lie to me." He meets her gaze. "I am not." They stand there, the room thick with unfinished thoughts. A knock sounds at the door. Both of them tense. Ethan opens it to find a man from the conference, slightly unsteady, confidence sharpened by alcohol. "Cole," the man says, grinning. "After party downstairs. You should come. Bring your girlfriend." Claire stiffens. Ethan does not hesitate. "She is not my girlfriend." The man laughs. "Sure, whatever you say." His eyes slide to Claire, lingering too long. "You coming anyway?" "No," Claire replies calmly. The man shrugs and walks away. The door closes. The air shifts. "You did not have to correct him," Claire says. "Yes, I did." "Why?" "Because it matters," Ethan replies. She studies him. "Does it?" "Yes," he says again. "It should." Something breaks open between them. "You keep drawing lines," she says quietly, then standing right on top of them. "So do you. Because you keep stepping closer." "That is not intentional," he says. She laughs once, sharp and breathless. "Do not insult us both." The words echo. Ethan moves toward the desk, then stops. He turns back to her. "This arrangement," he says, choosing each word carefully, "was supposed to be simple." "And it is not," she finishes. "No." They stand closer now, too close. "This is where we stop," Claire says, voice barely steady. "We should stop." "Yes," Ethan agrees. Neither of them moves. The city hums outside. A car horn, distant laughter, life continuing, indifferent. "You told me to tell you to stop," Claire whispers. "Yes. I am telling you now." He searches her face. "Then why are you still standing here?" She does not have an answer. The moment collapses under its own weight. Ethan reaches for her without thinking, his hand cupping her face, thumb brushing her cheek. The contact is gentle, almost reverent, and it steals her breath. "This is a mistake," she says. "Yes," he replies. Then he kisses her. It is not soft. It is not careful. It is charged with everything they have held back. Frustration, curiosity, recognition. The kiss is brief, fierce, and undeniable. Claire gasps against him, her hands gripping his jacket before she pulls away. "Ethan," she breathes. "No." Reality crashes in. He steps back immediately, horror and clarity flooding his expression. "I am sorry," he says. "I should not have—" She shakes her head. "Do not." They stand apart now, the distance between them sharp and absolute. "That cannot happen again," she says. "It will not," he answers. But neither of them believes it. They prepare for bed without another word. Ethan avoids looking at her. Claire turns her back to the room, wide awake, replaying the moment she did not stop him. Lights off. The room returns to its familiar shape, but nothing feels familiar anymore. Ethan lies awake on the couch, the memory of her lips burned into his mind. Across the room, Claire stares at the ceiling, heart racing, knowing one thing with terrifying certainty. That kiss changed everything, and there is no pretending otherwise. The morning after the kiss feels colder than it should. Checkout is efficient, quiet, professional. Ethan signs the folio without looking at Claire. She keeps her eyes on her phone, fingers steady, posture composed. To anyone watching, nothing is wrong. That is the problem. They part in the lobby with a polite nod. No promises, no explanations. 2 days later, reality intervenes. Claire is back in Chicago when the email arrives. Subject line neutral, tone sharp. The client she challenged at the conference has filed a complaint. Not about her work, about her presence, about her proximity to Ethan Cole. The implication is clear without being stated. Conflict of interest, impropriety, ambition disguised as competence. Her contract is paused, pending review. Claire sits at her kitchen table long after the screen goes dark. This is familiar territory. Not the accusation itself, but the ease with which people reach for it. She does not call Ethan. Across the city, Ethan hears about it from his legal team. They are pushing a narrative, his advisor says, that she leveraged access to you. That is false, Ethan replies flatly. Truth is not the issue, the advisor says. Optics are. Ethan closes his eyes. There is a board dinner tonight, the advisor continues. If this escalates, we need distance, publicly. Ethan understands exactly what that means. That evening, the dinner unfolds in a private room overlooking the river. Familiar faces, familiar smiles, controlled conversation. Then someone mentions Claire. Talented woman, a board member says lightly, but risky. You cannot afford distractions right now. Ethan sets his glass down. She is not a distraction, he says. Another voice cuts in. Then prove it. Step away. The table quiets. Ethan looks around. These people helped build his empire. They can also dismantle it. He nods once. Understood. Across town, Claire is finishing a late dinner alone when her phone buzzes. A notification. A photo. Ethan at the board dinner, seated beside a woman she recognizes instantly. Polished. Strategic. His former partner. The message underneath is short. Smart move. Something in Claire finally breaks. She does not cry. She does not throw her phone. She stands, collects herself, and makes a decision. She chooses not to call Ethan, not because she is proud, but because she refuses to survive on borrowed power. The next morning, she walks into the review meeting early, calm, prepared, alone. She lays out her work, her credentials, her results. She refuses to mention Ethan. I will not defend myself against assumptions, she says, only against facts. The room is silent. Later that day, Ethan hears she did not name him, did not accuse him, did not ask for help. That is when he realizes the cost of his silence. He finds her that night outside her office, city lights flickering behind her. You should have called me, he says. You made your position clear, she replies, publicly. That was not my choice. It was, she says quietly. You chose what was easier. He absorbs that. I was trying to protect you. No, she says. You were protecting yourself. The truth lands hard. I will fix this, he says. She shakes her head. I am not something you fix. What do you want, Claire? I want you to choose, she says, not privately, not quietly, out loud. He looks at her, understanding finally what this moment requires. And for the first time, Ethan Cole realizes that walking away would be the most expensive choice he has ever made. Because this time, the cost is not measured in money. It is measured in integrity. The final choice comes sooner than Ethan expects. It happens at the quarterly shareholders forum, streamed live to every major outlet that tracks his company. This is the room where narratives are shaped and reputations are cemented. This is where silence has always been his safest weapon. Claire does not plan to watch it. She is in her apartment, jacket half on, when her phone lights up with messages. Colleagues, friends, even a former client. Are you seeing this? She hesitates, then turns on the stream. Ethan stands at the podium, composed as ever. Dark suit, calm expression. A man entirely in control. For the first few minutes, it is business as usual. Growth projections, operational updates, applause on cue. Then a hand goes up. A board member clears his throat. There have been questions about recent consulting engagements connected to executive access. Would you like to address those concerns? The room stills. Claire's breath catches. Ethan nods once. Yes, I would. He does not look at his notes. There has been speculation, he continues, voice steady, that a consultant leveraged proximity to me for professional gain. That implication is false. Murmurs ripple through the room. Claire Morgan was selected for her expertise, Ethan says, not because of me, not because of access, but because she was the most qualified person in the room. The camera cuts closer. If my presence created doubt around her integrity, he adds, that responsibility is mine, not hers. A pause. I failed to say that when it mattered, he says. I will not fail again. Claire sinks onto the edge of her couch, stunned. Ethan continues. Effective immediately, I am recusing myself from any oversight related to her work. And for clarity, I am also publicly acknowledging my personal involvement. The room erupts, gasps, whispers, shock. I am not asking for approval, Ethan finishes. I am choosing transparency, and I am choosing her. No one applauds. Several board members exchange looks, already calculating the consequences. The stream cuts. Silence fills Claire's apartment. Her phone rings. It is Ethan. "I am outside," he says simply. She does not ask how he knows where she lives. For a moment, she considers not opening the door at all. She opens the door. He stands there without security, without polish, without distance. Just a man who has finally decided to be honest. "I meant every word," he says. "I should have chosen you sooner." She studies his face, the certainty, the vulnerability. "You did not choose me," she says quietly. "You chose integrity." He nods. "And I found you there." Tears blur her vision, but she does not look away. "I cannot be your secret," she says. "You will never be," he replies. A beat. Then she steps into his arms. Weeks later, the story settles. The complaint is dismissed. Claire's reputation not only restored, but elevated. Ethan's company weathers the storm stronger than before. They move into a place that belongs to neither of their old lives. Neutral ground, shared space, chosen, not forced. One evening, as the city lights glow below them, Ethan takes Claire's hand. "This time," he says, "there is no contract, no conditions." He lowers himself onto one knee. "Only a choice, made every day. Will you make it with me?" She laughs through tears. "Yes." The kiss that follows is not rushed, not stolen. It is earned. For the first time, love is not a role they fall into. It is a choice they stand behind.